Hello everyone and welcome back to a best-of-5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Protoss, and this particular ZVP is the grand finals of a recent ESL Open Cup from South Korea. So spotting here in the top right hand corner of Hardwire, that's map number 1 in this series, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have none other than Solar. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Protoss probes, a man who's been on absolute fire recently, winning the most recent GSL tournament. We are looking at none other than Zest's main Nexus. I don't really know exactly what's gotten into Zest recently, but for some reason, everything has once again clicked in his head, and he is looking incredible right now. I mean, not just his jawline, right? Because obviously, physically, the man looks incredible, but also his StarCraft 2 gameplay. All jokes aside, honestly, if he keeps playing the way that he is, and I know I mentioned this a couple of days ago, but he's really one of my favorites going into IEM Katowice. It seems that over the last 2 months or so, either he's just picked up his, like he mentioned in the GSL, I think that's probably the main reason. He mentioned in the GSL that he's been drinking far less, or he stopped drinking entirely. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, he's playing incredible right now. So, yeah, I don't really know who ends up winning this, but if I were to make a guess, Zest is currently looking very powerful. That being said, Solar, of course, always steady as a rock. This man has been playing at the professional level over in South Korea for a very long time. And while I don't think there's ever really been a moment where people considered him to be like the best Zerg from Korea, Solar has been consistently top 8, top 4 or so from that country. So definitely someone to keep an eye out on. It seems like most players go through like spikes, right? Hills and valleys as far as their skill level and performance goes. But Solar, yeah, always seems to be very solid. And while he's not necessarily a GSL Code S winner, he is definitely someone who's pretty much always going to do well. Anyways. Now, this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss. Obviously, a very well figured out matchup. If you've been watching my YouTube channel for a little while, you probably know that I think early game ZVP is a little bit boring because the first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, sometimes the first 20 minutes, literally, look pretty much just the same. And while there definitely is some variety, it's no secret that the Stargate opener is indeed the go-to. So if I were to make a guess right here, Zest is going to go for a Void Ray first, then he's going to rally the Void Ray to the third base, kill the Overlord along the way there, take the third base at about 350, and then he's going to transition from there into either more Stargate units or something else. On the Zerg side of things, because of that Void Ray opener, it's very difficult for them to actually get some proper damage in. Obviously, you can go for cheeses if you really want to, but yeah, most of the time you're going to be on a timer because, like I said, by like 3.5 minutes, that Void Ray is going to be out. A little bit later than that. And most of that early game ground pressure is going to be shut down. That being said, of course, what we have seen many times over the last few years is a heavy focus on Queen Marches. Although it seems that recently Protoss players at this level have once again gotten very good at defending those. So Queen Marchers also have tapered off a little bit in popularity. Anyways, we're going to find out together. I haven't seen too many ZVPs recently, so I'm excited. One drone kill right there. That goes to the natural. Really wanted to grab another one as well. There's the Void Ray, by the way. Indeed, it's rally towards the Overlord. I haven't seen these games, okay? I know it makes me sound very smart, but this is just so common right now in this matchup. All right. Probe to the third? Yep. Oh, we got to go to the low ground third instead. Fair enough. We get some Terran music while looking at a Zerg versus Protoss. This is one of the best songs, actually, in my opinion, from the StarCraft 2 universe, at the very least. Don't get me wrong, the Terran music from StarCraft 1 in particular, you know, it resonates with me, but Terran 1, Terran 2, Terran 3, you know, like, it's all very good. Anyways. Oracle moving on over towards the third base of the Zerg. But since the Zerg player did already see that there was indeed a Void Ray out, he decided to preemptively build a couple of those spores. So spores in every mineral line. I don't think this Oracle is going to get all too much damage done. As a follow-up right now here from the Protoss player, we are going to go into the +1 air weapons. This is something that Solar will want to scout here in just a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he runs to the Natural Expo here in a little bit just to figure out exactly what it is the Protoss is going for. I still feel like this is an upgrade that could be exploited as well. So basically what Zerg will usually do is they will scout the front, they will see the spinning right here, there you go, inside of that Cybercore, and they know that something's researching. Now the Cybercore, it has 3 upgrades, or 3 kinds of upgrades. It's got air armor attack, or air armor improvements, air attack improvements, and then the warp gate research. And since obviously at this point warp gates are done, it has to be some sort of air weapon upgrade. 99% of the time. I don't think we really ever see armor first. Anyways, I do think there's potential in faking this upgrade. So going for like a Twilight Council, Mass Adept, or a Dark Templar transition, while simultaneously faking that upgrade and then canceling it after a Zergling comes to check. I think there's some potential there, but it's not really something that's done a whole lot. I'm sure that Protoss players have tried. Yeah, the problem is Solar is not just going to check once. This is the third time right now he's checked. So if that upgrade would be cancelled, he knows the moment at which it should be done. He will pick up on it very quickly as well and probably just put down a ton of static defense and just make a lot of units. So probably not super effective, but most of the time that's what happens. Now, there is actually no Spore Crawler in the Natural Expo. All right, Solar trying to cut a corner. I'm not a fan whenever Zerg players do so because it never really seems to work out, and then you still have to make the Spore. Anyway, 3 workers, not the end of the world at all at this point in the game. But yeah, already we are setting ourselves up for a late game. So it's gonna be a fleet beacon here already from Mr. Zest. Obviously, that gives him the potential to go for carriers, tempests, but also those Void Ray upgrades. Speed improvement is very nice. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we see Solar transitioning towards a Hydralisk's Den. He's gonna go into an Infestation Pit and now also a Baneling Nest. So there's definitely some attacks he could do. He's actually gonna go into Hydras. Interesting. So Hydras really have lost popularity over the last half year or so. Most of the time when we see Hydras, it's to morph them into Lurkers. And that's really about it. The problem with Hydras is that they're very good when it comes to dealing full-on, Skytol's armies. So if it's like maxed out carriers, maxed out Void Rays, Hydras actually do really well. The problem is that usually these units are mixed with a couple of Disruptors, with a couple of High Templar, and Psionic Storms and Purification Novas. Clear out those Hydras nice and quickly. Void Rays, are good against Corruptors, but if the Corruptors come out in big enough numbers, you can still definitely make them work. Anyways, because of that, I'm wondering if Solar is going to go for some sort of timing attack here, because I'm a little bit concerned if he decides to just play... Oh, if he decides to just play full-on macro, that it's just going to backfire if he focuses on Hydralisks. So what are we going for with the Hive? That's the second Baneling Nest. We've already got one. Yeah. He's going to go for the roly-poly upgrade. Carrier number 1 on the production tab right here. Carrier number 2 following very quickly behind. And there's that speed upgrade done here for the Void Race. Ooh, if he can kill that, that would be amazing. And I think he's going to be able to. Yeah, those lasers don't mess around. And there it is. Zest keeps the Void Rays alive. One Viper is squeezed out here, but this is... this is the story of my Zerg versus Protoss games. Whenever I try to play a macro game, this is usually what happens, man. I feel like I'm everywhere at once. I'm like, okay, Hydra's here, Hydra's there. And then I don't pay attention to the main base. A couple of the Zappy boys come in. They're almost smiling on their way back home. Very good game so far here for Zest. Yeah, look at this. I was gonna say, did he even lose anything? Apparently he lost to 1 worker this game. But other than that, this has been a pretty good beginning of this series, I would say, for our Protoss player. Alright, so what are we gonna do now? I mean, Parasitic Bomb is still good, I guess. 1 Parasitic Bomb can definitely change the tide of battle, but Zest is fully capable of microing those units well. He's gonna try and get lucky right over here at the 4th base of the Zerg as well. Bzz, lasers! Lasers! And the base is gone. Oh, just laugh the pain away, Lowko. Alright, here's Solar. Solar's gonna try and put all of his eggs in one basket. He's got Hydraling Bane, he's got 1 Hero Viper. He wants to close out this game right here, right now. And truth be told, Zest is fully focused right now on air units. He doesn't have any ground army whatsoever. Charge is not done just yet. So there is some potential right here in this army here from the Zerg. He needs to clear out this army, though. Like, he needs to kill the Protoss right here, right now. I don't think he can really transition out of this very, very effectively at all. And it turns out that I think it's going to be our Protoss player, yeah, in a near flawless game in game number 1 of this series. That was pretty much a perfect game right there by Zest. Not dropping the ball at any point, using the map terrain very nicely, realizing where his opponent's army was, and more importantly, where it wasn't. Using the terrain right there to his advantage, and he went into the main base, got himself a base kill, and then obviously the 4th base as well. I mean, Zest definitely playing much better there than Solar in game number 1. I think in the end he lost like 3 Void Rays, maybe 5 Zealots and an Adept. And obviously that 1 probe that we saw earlier. Anyways, game number 2. Pride of Altaris. And Pride of Altaris does have a golden base with 8 mineral patches. So Solar apparently expense here at 14 supply. Zest already made a beeline for this base. He was ready to block it. Apparently very well aware that Solar likes to take this one early. If this would have been a 16 hatch, which is the standard, I think the probe would have actually been able to block this one, yeah, nice and early, and that would have been an absolute disaster for Solar. So Solar apparently already playing the mind game right there, decided to take the hatch at 14 instead. Alright. So this is going to make the game a little bit harder though for Zest, because he's going to have to think on the fly. Obviously, Zerg is going to be disconnected until everything is going to be connected with creep, and that's quite a few creep tumors to cover those bases. But 8 mineral patches of gold is definitely very nice. Most of the golden bases in StarCraft 2 have only 6 mineral patches. And yeah, this one obviously adds up very quickly. Double gateway right here, and then straight into a cybercore. Okay, so Zest definitely wants to put on some pressure. He's delaying his own nexus here for quite some time. Opting to go for, I guess, 4 adepts here? Maybe 2 adepts? I'm not exactly sure. I think if you're gonna go double gateway, you want to go at least 4 adepts. Which is obviously very good, especially when Zerg doesn't have link speed here early. However, we see Solar already taking the gas nice and quickly. Alright, this is where that income boost is gonna be very sweet, right? So Solar will have to make up for the lost mining time that he's just had by, yeah, sending those drones over and over to the gold base, but 1 Zealot as well, okay. 1 Zealot, 2 Adepts. Still no Nexus, by the way. It is double gas and a 3rd pylon here as well from Zest. So Zest definitely, yeah, he wants to see if he can close out this game early. Going for the 4th pylon over on the left side of the map. Alright. This is some very aggressive player from Zest. Apparently not too happy about the fact that he couldn't block the Zerg's gold. You need about 4 Zerglings or so in order to deal with 1 Zealot. I actually really like this spine crawler here as well, but good positioning right there on that Zealot. Using the terrain. Oh, no cancel? Really? No cancel? Yikes. Yeah, so this is a recipe for disaster right now. You need that spine crawler. Adepts are, when you have 2 of them, enough to one-shot those drones. Only 2 workers here going down, but also that spine crawler. No cancel though, that was a little bit sloppy. Definitely do want to cancel. Anyways, in the meantime, on the left side of the map, okay. I think that was a Twilight Council? Maybe a Robo Bay? Or a Robo Facility, rather? I'm not sure. Anyways, judging by the cancelled resources, it should have been one of those 2. Zergling gets scouted out, though, and Zest apparently decide to give up on the pressure entirely and go for the good old Stargate at home. Don't get me wrong, I like this start here for Zest. But he needs to deal more damage. I don't think it's just enough yet. Link speed is going to finish up very soon. And despite the fact that right now Protoss does have a natural coming up as well as more workers here in total, Zerg's going to be the one with, the Zerg links here. So obviously he can go for quite a bit of pressure. Bailing Nest comes up. Is Solar just feeling like a bailing bust? Okay, he does add on some workers once again. Just drones over at the gold base though, so I guess this is enough to saturate at least some of those mineral patches here. Are we also, yeah, we are also making drones in the main base. Okay, no, he was thinking about going for an all-in. But apparently he decided better of it when he scouted the Stargate right there. I think if this would have been a Robo Facility, or maybe a, I don't know, like a Twilight Council, he probably would have stuck around on the Bailing Nest for a little while longer. But obviously, Stargate units are pretty good against units that can't shoot up. Straight into a Fleet Beacon here. Recall on that 1 Adept. Straight into a Fleet Beacon here from the Protoss player. So, yeah, I guess he's going to be sitting back here after a very adventurous game number 1. A very aggressive start in game number 2 as well. I guess that Zest is, yeah, just going to sit back. Alright, so the best course of action right now for Solar is just to try and make a lot of workers. Yeah, his income is going to be booming here very, very quickly. Not getting any gas income whatsoever. Well, apparently now he's pulling some gas once again, but this is a very good position right now for Solar to be in. Yeah, a little bit undecided right there on Zest early game. Like, he wanted to do 17 different things, and then he did... Huh? Alright. He did, like, half measures, right? I guess it's because his proxy got scouted on the left side. It kind of fell apart, and he decided not to commit to anything anymore, but... Not the biggest fan of this, but... The follow-up right now for him is Tempests. I have seen Tempests on this map before. I guess it works well if you go for a gold base first, because the Zerg is not going to be able to pull the queens to the front very effectively. Alright, so Tempests are very good when it comes to dealing with units from a distance. Most notably from the Zerg player, that would be queens and then also Hydralisks. Zerg really desperately needs a Spire. At this point, it doesn't even have a lair yet, though, so this could actually backfire quite hard here for Solar. I mean, if all of a sudden, like, 3 Tempests show up unscouted... Could be an issue. He's checking right now for that cybernetics core upgrade, so he doesn't see it. Meaning that he probably doesn't think his opponent is going for, well, these units attack so slowly anyways, right? The little bit of additional damage you get from the cybernetics core upgrade is probably not worth it. Alright, there's the Spire. Yeah. Solar realizes that something's not quite right. He hasn't seen what's happening, but he has seen that there's not been a third base. He has also seen not a whole lot of air units here in general. So, the fact that he just started up the Spire there is actually huge. Very nice move right there by Solar. He needs to get the units out in time. Still gonna be a while until Corruptors are gonna join the battlefield, but I think that's the ultimate unit he's looking for here. This is the first time that Solar sees the Tempest, and, well, now it's already 4, making a beeline right here towards that golden base of the Zerg. More Spore Crawlers are coming up. Tempests have very long air-to-air ranged. They still have very long air-to-ground ranged as well, but not at the same level. At this point, it's all about buying time here. So you need 5 Tempests, if I'm not mistaken, to one-shot queens. If they're full health, that is. Robo Facility here is a follow-up. Still no third base, by the way, from the Protoss. So Solar needs to do way more damage than whatever he's doing. Or, sorry, Zest needs to do way more damage than he's doing right now. Solar just giving up this base altogether? Really? Alright. I don't think he's actually... Yeah, he's gonna be able to get the kill. Spires take forever, man. He started it ages ago, but... Alright, yeah, he's gonna need probably about a dozen or so Corruptors in order to deal with this. But he also knows at this point that Zest is still on 2 bases, right? So he scouted around the map. If Protoss is still on 2 bases at the 8-minute mark, or almost the 8-minute mark, you know that their main and their natural are gonna run out very quick. So... Yeah, Zest will either make an all-in, I guess. Or he will try and go for a desperation third. At this point, the golden attacks are done as well here for these Tempests. So they're going to be able to deal some more damage here, especially to buildings. Yeah, they deal a lot of damage now. Okay, recall. Upon seeing this, Tempest gets picked off. Yeah, this is not good. So, even though the moves here from Zest have been fun, they've been cool to look at, if he doesn't do something more, very soon, he is gonna be overwhelmed. Problem is, at this point, look, the main base is running out of resources. Natural, obviously, was taken quite late, so there's still some minerals left over there, but... Solar is the one in the driver's seat of this game right now. Okay. More Terran music, by the way. Not a whole lot of anti-air for our Protoss player. That being said, he has been pumping out some of those Void Rays. Void Rays, of course, are very good when it comes to dealing with those Corruptors. Alright. Contamination used right there by a very slow Overseer. Not sure how that one managed to make it in, but at the very least it got a full peek on the bases of the Protoss. So what's the best move right now from Solar? So I think he's got 2 options. Either he goes for like a timing attack off of 3 bases, knowing very well that he's been microing and macroing a lot more than his opponent. Or, oh my god, I think you have to now, right? He's thinking about going for a 4th base already, Zest it is? Alright. Anyways, or you just try to play macro and just, yeah, take it very slow. Solar definitely a player who's not afraid to play late game against Protoss. But I don't know if you want to give Zest that much time. So there's the 4th Nexus. Hello. Little Zerglings, go. Go, 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 go. Alright, I haven't seen it just yet. Man, is Solar actually gonna just play full macro against this? He's been really far ahead for pretty much the entire game, but he's still scared of, like, Well, yeah, it makes sense, right? There's double battery over here. He's still scared of that Skytle's army, knowing very well that there is potential for this to be a disaster. And it feels to me that the timing window here is closing, with disruptors joining the battlefield as well. Obviously, you can still try, though. Yeah, with good micro, you can deal a lot of damage. Zerglings moving on over towards the right side of the map, ready to run into the natural expo, but there is an adept waiting there. Just testing the waters. Alright. I'm not the biggest fan of this passivity right here from Solar, but he probably knows what he's doing. Oh my god, really? I checked like 2 seconds ago. Adept apparently sleeping on the job. Will any probes be killed? Alright, a couple of probes indeed are starting to fall now. I was gonna say, that almost was perfect defense. At the same time, okay, there's also an engagement right here at the front. Some of that Protoss army sleeping on the job. Solar hits his opponent at several angles at once. Disruptor over here has 3 confirmed kills, but now all of the Skytles units are just getting picked off. At that point, I mean, you can do whatever you like with those Corruptors. Yeah, just go into the main base, pick off the Stargate units as they pop out. Zest hits the GG. And after a funny little early game, it is going to be the Zerg player who obtains the victory. Alright, game 3. 2,000 atmospheres. Yeah, that game went south, I guess, for Zest. As soon as he saw that his opponent went for a 14 hatch over at the gold base, he was intending on blocking his opponent's gold base when it was taken at 16 supply, but at that point he was like, you know what? I was going to be aggressive, and now I'm going to be even more aggressive. And he decided to go double gateway and then a proxy on the left side of the map. I guess everything went south as soon as that proxy was found. But then Solar also was going up against a Protoss player who was going for Tempests, which can be good, but yeah, it's hard to take a third base. Well, already. Probe over here ready to block it, but Solar definitely doesn't mind taking the third base. Oh, okay, I thought he was... For a second, I thought he was going to send that drone across the map, but that would have been something. Alright, so what are we going to do right here, Mr. Zest? Let me guess. I think it's going to be a Nexus at 20 supply, Cybercore at 20 supply, Void Ray done at about 340. Moving on over towards the third base, take the third base at about 350. Solar, he's probably going to make drones and queens and some Zerglings here and there. There might be an Adept or two, though. Oh, the excitement of early games EVP. I might fast forward through some of the early game if that's going to be the exact approach we'll take. So 20 supply Nexus, you cut the probe. 20 supply Cybernetics core. There it is. Alright, so what exactly is the Zerg player going for at this point? Well, Solar is going to go hatch gas pool. Generally speaking, you make 2 queens as soon as the spawning pool is done. You make about 4 Zerglings as well. Solar actually opting to go for a faster third base than what is... I mean, this is pretty standard as well. There's a couple of different approaches you can take. He might not be able to afford 2 queens at once right now, but obviously this will give him the option to get some additional larvae here. Yeah, he decides to go for the queen over at the third base first instead. So essentially, the main goal here for Zerg is just to spend all of the larvae first. So you spend your larvae as soon as you can. 100 gas here max as well, so he's gonna just get link speed started and then transition away from this. So there's the link speed. No gas income whatsoever, and just, yeah, a main focus here on getting as many of those larvae morphed into drones as possible. The main goal here for the Zerg is just to try and make as many drones as they can, because obviously Zerg has that larva mechanic. It allows them to make like 10 drones at once if they really can, right? If they have the option to, they will usually do so, which is much faster than the Zerg player, or sorry, than the Protoss player can do in this circumstance. So there's Zest going for the Stargate. Zergling's already scouting over at the third. There's an Overlord like right here over at the natural of the Protoss as well, scouting the timing of the Cybernetics core research. And upon seeing that, even though he hasn't seen the Stargate, Solar already knows that 9 times out of 10 right now, it's either going to be a mind game or it's going to be a Stargate first, more than likely. Alright, actually an Oracle first, interestingly enough. Okay, a few Zerglings right into the main base. They're going to scout right now that it is going to be an Oracle first. A little bit sloppy right here from Zest. Adepts over at the third base. 1 drone. Oh, nice move right there by Solar. Alright. Solar playing a little bit more tightly here. The That's what we want to see. Alright. So, Oracle into a Void Ray. That does mean that the third base... Yeah, the units, I guess, will need to be escorted here by an Adept instead. Let's see. Can the Oracle do any sort of damage? Ah, there's no drones at the third base, my man. I'm sorry. A little bit awkward. There's a Spore Crawler in the main base. Queen in the main base, too. Zerglings running on over towards the third. Void Ray at this point is scouted as well here by the Zerg player. So, okay, this is the moment, right? So, what are we gonna do? Third base here for the Protoss is later than it needs to be. I guess it's because he opted to go for another gateway here a little bit sooner instead. Also because he went for that Oracle first. There's the +1 flyer attacks again. +1 flyer attacks. Huge indication that it is going to be a second Stargate here very soon. Although Zest hasn't actually started up additional Stargate units just yet. I mean, obviously they're expensive. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, it could be a fake out, but instead it's going to be a second Stargate here. Alright, Zerg right now is a follow-up. Lair taken at about 4:30. So it's a normal time, about 4.5 minutes for a Lair. And then into a Roach Warren as well soon after. That way you can start up the Roach speed right around the same time that the Lair is finished. And then as a follow-up, usually against Mass Skytles, it's gonna be that, yeah, that Queen army. It's gonna be that Queen army into Corruptors. Hello. Oh no. Alright. If you didn't notice that for the entire duration of the Stasis Ward, that would be a little bit painful. Yeah, so I'm sure a Zergling here has spotted now that the Cybernetic score is once again spinning. And Zest going back to his good old standard, the one game, or the one strategy that he played in game number 1 as well. This is the gold standard in Zerg versus Protoss, or Protoss versus Zerg, I guess, from his perspective. Quite a few Zerglings out on the map already, but you can see Solar right now. He's finally arrived at 3 base saturation, so we can see him making that transition. So what are we going to do from here? If he wanted to go for a Queen Walk, I think he would have already... made that decision. And there indeed is that Spire. Saturating the gases over here. Man. Bunch of awkwardly idle drones. Yeah, okay. Hello. Ah. A little bit of sloppiness here. A little bit of misclicking. Alright, so we're just setting ourselves up once again for a very passive game. We might see some of those Void Rays going around the map trying to kill a base here. There's the third Stargate. There's the Robo Bay as well as the Fleet Beacon. So, yeah, Zest just trying to go for that Protoss Death Ball. It's a good style, can't blame him. Even though I do think it's a little bit boring. Because the entire strategy so far has to been, let's not attack each other until 12 minutes into the game. Obviously, they don't really care about giving us entertaining games. They're just here to try and, you know, win. And if they deem that this is the best way to win, it's fair enough. Zerglings scouting whatever they can. Beautiful setup right here as well from Zest. This is one of the reasons why it's difficult to break a Protoss player here, because the AI will super derp out, right? Like, so this is completely walled in. Not really any advantages right there at all. Anyways, for the Zerg player, I mean, he's not going to be able to abuse that in any way. If you just attack move, the Zerglings are going to try and attack that Void Ray, or sorry, yeah, that Photon Cannon they can't reach. Nice little bit of aggression once again, though. Zest is looking very nice in these straightforward games. Really? Okay, I was going to say, yeah. There's a Spore Crawler, but it's not in the perfect spot. Very good movement here by Protoss. Very nicely done. Okay. So, in the meantime, inside of the main base of the Protoss player, what are we looking at? Carriers. Gateways. Charge is going to be coming up soon, I'm sure. +1 attacks as well for those Zealots. And do we have any Disruptors? We do not. Interesting. So we went for the Robo Bay, but no Disruptors? No, he's instead going to go Templar Archives. Okay. I guess upon seeing the Corruptors here, he decided that he didn't want to have Disruptors. So to clarify, Purification Nova from Disruptors only hits ground, whereas High Templar Storm also can hit air. So maybe if it would have been Hydras or something, or like maybe he would have scouted like a Queen March or a timing attack from the Zerg, then he probably would have mixed in a couple of Disruptors. So even though the Robo Bay is not a cheap structure by any stretch, I think it was mostly a safety precaution, which I quite like. Corruptors on the hunt. Love the Archon here, by the way. Archons deal splash damage. Okay, here comes the Zerg army. Queens also moved it over to the front. I have seen this timing attack before. It's such an awkward one to me. But this is right around the time where, yeah, Protoss doesn't see it, right? So right now, Disruptors are not out. And even though it looked to me like Solar wanted to go for like that Spore Crawler Forest, where you make like 100 drones and then a gajillion spores, he's instead gonna go for a timing attack that's relatively new. Okay, there's a lot of Archons dealing damage over... Well, 2 Archons dealing damage over here. And despite the fact that they definitely weren't microed perfectly, the Corruptors that is, most of the Stargate units have already disappeared. Is there enough right now, though, for our Protoss player to clear all of this up? He's made enough gateways here, so he can still warp in quite a few reinforcements. Okay, Corruptors are being killed slowly but surely, and I think there might just barely be enough right here for the Protoss player to hold on. Yeah, so what exactly went wrong right there for Solar? He was flying those Corruptors over the Archons. But obviously he was busy transfusing, he was busy trying to get the Queens into the battle, he was trying to like land corrosive bowels and everything. Those are the kinds of battles that require about 600 APM from the side of the Zerg. And about 20. No, Lowko, don't say it! Lowko, stop it! No, but it's one of those army compositions that is significantly easier to control. For the Protoss player. Just gotta make sure you get your Archons underneath. Try and send back the weakened capital ships, but since they all have 1,000,000 health, it's totally... Okay, this is where I get a little bit Zerg biased. Can you tell that I mostly play Zerg on the ladder myself? Yeah, I like those timing attacks, but there's just so much that can go wrong. So right now, Solar is in an awkward spot. He's gonna have to sit back right now, I guess. I mean, he can go for some pressure if he wants to, but... I mean, he doesn't have units that can really shoot up. There's some Corruptors coming in as well. Without the static defense... There is some potential here for the Zerg player to come in for more damage. Ah, you know what? This could be an overextension here by Zest. He's expanding towards that newly made base very quickly. At the same time, though, that huge Zealot army that was left over from earlier... Okay, it moves on over to the Watchtower on the right side of the map, and it is going to be able to pick up one of those Zerg expansions. Corruptors right now derping around once again, but yeah, there's not even remotely enough here for the Zerg. GG. Such a zesty move right there from our Protoss, huh? So, after that battle, he's got like no units left over whatsoever. He decides to spend whatever resources he has on, well, a couple of carriers, I suppose, but then a Nexus and then more Zealots. And then whatever ground units he still had left over in the form of Zealots, he sent all the way towards the right side of the map. So, he's sitting there on the left side with like, 12 units in total, trying to defend a base that doesn't have any static defense around it. And then, in the end... He manages to hold on to it while simultaneously also sending all of the Zealots in for a counterattack. Very cheeky little play right there by Zest. I like it. Looks like we once again have a third base here for the Zerg player first. I'm expecting us... Yeah, gas guys are pretty soon. There we go. And then probably a 20 supply Nexus as well. Alright. I'm going to double tap the speed up button. I think that means that we're now on ×4 speed here. Just because this early game is going to be identical. Yep, it should be anyways. Cybercore goes down. Probe inside of the main base. Stargate. Yeah, this is my main criticism of Zerg versus Protoss, right? I mean, the early game is kind of boring. I think the late game is kind of boring too. Mid game is good though. Okay, we're gonna take a third base at about 350. Yep. Spore crawlers are coming up. Alright, I'll slow it back down to regular in-game speed. I know some of you really dislike it, by the way, whenever I fast forward. It doesn't happen all too often. But the thing is, I've now explained this early game from the Zerg side, from the Protoss side. And yeah, I mean, I could tell you the story of my life in those, you know, opening minutes. But yeah, second Stargate comes up. +1 flyer attacks come up. So once upon a time, there was build order variety in this matchup. But it's just been the Stargate opener, right? That's simply better than the others. I think the second best opener is probably Dark Templar into Archon drops. I think Adept openers also have a lot of potential. But yeah, the main issue... Hello. Okay. The main issue with those starts is that you need to deal some sort of damage. So like, if you go for a Twilight Council opener, right? So you go either into Dark Templar or you go into Adepts. You need to deal damage on the other side of the map for two reasons. First off, you invest a lot of resources, for example, into Adepts, and Adepts aren't very helpful in the mid-game, so you need to deal some sort of damage just to justify that cost. But also the fact that your third base doesn't come up any sooner than like 5 minutes. It's very difficult to take a third base pre-5 minutes if you go for a Twilight Council opener. And with the Stargate opener, you can take it at like 350. You can kill the Overlords, you can prevent scouting, and you don't need to deal damage on the other side of the map. I mean, it's a win-win in basically every way. Alright. 2 Void Rays coming up at once. Berlingrad, of course, a pretty long map. Distance from natural to natural is quite significant. This is match point, by the way, for Zest. So, not surprising to see him go for the strategy that's already won him a couple of games. That being said, apparently Solar is playing a little bit more aggressively this time. Okay. A Queen March. We haven't seen one yet in this series. I think it's very strong against these double Stargate openers, though. Love the fact that he actually mined out the mineral patches here in the middle on both his side as well as the opponent's side. So he's going to be able to reinforce this a little bit easier. There is static defense over at the third base, but Solar is not thinking about the third base. He wants to go straight into the main base or straight into the natural. I don't think you need to fight there, man. I think you just go that way, honestly. Really? Alright, well, I guess he can take the third base out as well, and that's gonna still net him a huge advantage. Yeah. This is the problem when you become predictable, right? When you go for the same opener. There could have been disruptors out at this point in the game. The problem is that Zest is doing the identically same build, or an identical build to what he already did earlier in this series twice. So... Solar looked at it and he's like, you know what? I'm going to spread one creep tumor aggressively forward. And we'll see how you defend against it. Queen's desperately trying to make their way back on creep. Hello, ladies. You should go over there. You really should go over there. Alright, then. Really? We're just going to keep marching? This is so much slower. Why? Alright, they're still reinforcing units available as well, though. He's been pumping out queens 3 at a time for a little while. We're now up to 13 queens. There's the fleet beacon, there's the third Stargate. Yeah, so... he's taking a visit to 6 o'clock position, I quite like it. I go for Queen Marches. Okay, in my own games of Zerg vs. Protoss, I go for Queen Marches in these sorts of scenarios 9 times out of 10. And as a Zerg player, it's very hard to know whether or not it's a very quick, like, Disruptor follow-up, or if Protoss is gonna go double Stargate. But in my experience, probably 8 out of 10 times, it's gonna be double Stargate opener. And even though I do default lose to the 2 times where they go straight into Disruptors, because you can't really split with Queens off creep against Disruptors, right, as you may have guessed. He hasn't scouted this, by the way. Anyways, I'm just sort of taking those losses as it is, and while it does feel like a pretty shitty way, all things considered, I've tried, man. I've tried playing late game against Protoss many times before, and it never goes well for me. Genuinely have played probably 200 over the last year, and I've probably won, me being generous, 10, 15. And most of that comes down to Protoss making a huge mess up. So instead, I have to kind of rely on timing attacks in order to win the game. And while Zerg vs. Protoss right now, even though I'm complaining about it, right? I complain about this pretty much every single Zerg vs. Protoss cast that I do, but even though I'm complaining about it, Zerg vs. Protoss is my strongest matchup. I've got like 65% win rate, I think, maybe 70% win rate overall. over the last, I don't know, half year or so. It's just that I'm taking a lot of chances. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm winning because I'm better than the opponent. But I'm winning because I executed a timing attack that just happened to be good against what the Protoss player was doing, if that makes any sense. Like, winning a Zerg versus Terran feels oftentimes like you're better than the opponent. But in a lot of games against Protoss, I feel like I'm just kind of getting lucky. Anyways, Solo right now at a huge advantage. Even though Zest did manage to squeeze out a third base here at the 6 o'clock position, which wasn't scouted by Solar until it already was up and running, I think that this is still a really good position right now for Solar. I mean, he's got a good eco, he's got good upgrades, he can definitely go for a big push. But once again, yeah, he's going to be forced to give the Protoss player a bunch of time. Alright, is there enough right now for Protoss to actually deal damage over here? Corrosive Biles! Okay, barely dodged. There's a lot of queens coming in for the surround. The slowest surround ever. But I think they are going to be able to make their way over here. And honestly, without the queens here, yeah, there's some abductions. Even without the queens here, it doesn't really seem to matter all too much. Seems like the Zerg round army, together with those Vipers, may already be plenty. Yep, nice abductions here. GG. Alright, so that brings us to Blackburn. The final map for this particular best of 5. Solar, can you go for the gold base first, so there's a little bit of early game interest? That would be nice. No, I don't think so. Alright. So, Probe is going to go across the map. It's going to block the Zerg's natural. Zerg is going to go for the third base instead. Ah, okay. Never mind. We're slowing it back down. He's decided to go for the gold base now, after getting his natural blocked. Zest is going to confirm this as well. So he knows at this point that... Well, he probably was thinking it could be that one too. But yeah, he knows at this point that it is going to be a golden base. Is this something that Zest is going to respond to once again, like he did in game number 1? So on Blackburn, it's only 6 mineral fields, rather than the 8 that we saw on Pride of Altaris. I don't think you do anything about it, man. Oh, we are gonna go Cybercore first. Okay. So it is a slight aggression. So normally you go Nexus first into Cybercore against Zerg. Rather than going double gateway and then into a Cybercore and then to a Nexus super late, like he did on Pride of Altaris. I guess he's going for a little bit of aggression. Obviously, you can indeed hit the drones that are mining at the gold base as well with an adept from the back. So an adept over here would be quite annoying to clean. Although obviously Solar could, if you wanted to, just make a spine crawler there. You'll probably prioritize queen production over at the third base as well as soon as it's done. Or the gold base, I guess is what we should call this. Yep. Queens obviously can also shoot over this little mineral field. Alright. So let's see. Is there any sorts of damage here that Zest can do? It's good. A Stargate? What? No way. It's gonna be a Stargate opener right here from Zest. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I think a couple of very minor tweaks would make this matchup far more interesting in the early game. You don't even need to do much. Just discourage Void Ray openers a little bit, make Void Rays a little bit weaker, and then encourage the other openers a little bit. Right? Give them the option as well to not necessarily deal a ton of damage. Yeah, 2 drones over here, not bad. Nice shade right there as well by Zest. Alright, Stargate is done. Oracle first. Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, there's always going to be a go-to, right? There's always going to be, like, one strategy that will be slightly better than the rest. But if you compare it right now to, like, say, for example, Zerg versus Terran, right? Or Terran versus Protoss, there's a lot of early game variety that we see. We have that triple Rex opener against Zerg. We have that, you know, 1-1-1 opener. We have the quick third command center opener. We have the proxy Rex rushes, right? Like, there's a lot of variety in the early game. There's, like, at least 6 builds that are commonly played. Whereas against Protoss or in Zerg versus Protoss, I think we see the same early game 9 times out of 10. Ooh, a Phoenix? Hold up now. So we're going Oracle into Phoenix? Really? Oh. Well, now we're going back down to an Oracle. Wait, what? He canceled the Oracle? Went for a second Stargate instead. Okay. Is this just bait? No, it's not! Okay. Hey! Okay, so now we've got a little bit of variety. You guys know I love Phoenixes, right? I love Phoenixes in every matchup. I think they're really good. They're really fun. Phoenixes, whenever they get going, they pretty much always pay for themselves. They're beefy. Yeah, I love this little move, right? Lifting up the queen, getting the Oracle in. I think Phoenix openers are a lot of fun. So Phoenixes pretty much always pay for themselves. The problem is that Phoenixes kind of suck against Zerg in big battles. So, is it going to be double Stargate Phoenix? It should be. Zest may be a little bit concerned about another one of those queen marches, which is fair enough. Decides to go now for a Phoenix opener, which isn't necessarily great against those queen marches, but obviously you can pick up a lot of the queens and, yeah, deal some damage. No +1 flyer attack this time being researched either, although I do still think you probably want to take it when you're playing, when you're playing the Phoenixes. Anyways, third Nexus comes up, 520. Very late. Solar did scout that it wasn't taken yet. And now he sees the timing at which it is acquired. Good movement right there by Solar. Alright. So I think the strategy right now for Zest is to swoop into the main base or the natural and just pick off drones. Straight into a Spire once again, so Solar thinking, okay, could it be that Tempest opener again? Like, could it be something along those lines? Corruptors are still pretty good, obviously, against these sorts of units. Yeah, supply blocking the Zerg, not a bad idea at all. Queen will go down very nicely. A lot of Overlords over here as well. Ooh, dude, this is starting to really hurt the Zerg right now. Losing like 3 Overlords is fine. Yeah, now he starts up 7 new Overlords. Queens are being picked off. Great. That was really good. I think he didn't actually need to lose that one Oracle or that one Phoenix there, but it's because he was busy microing the Oracle at home. It's such a cost-efficient unit comp, right? Yeah, like, when you have this many Phoenixes, you also shouldn't really care too much about one Spore. I think he should actually pick up more drones there. Maybe he feels like he needs the units at home. Solar purposely sending all of this across the map. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think this is a good idea. Lift up whatever you can. Second Spore Crawler is done at this point, but my god. Look at this, right? It makes you wonder why we don't see Phoenix openers more regularly. 18 workers go down. Loads of value right here for those units. And the third base of the Protoss player still lives. Okay, so the main issue with Phoenixes is that as the Zerg player grows, these Phoenixes will lose value. Like, at some point, there's gonna be too much Zerg available, and then those Phoenixes are kind of pointless. I mean, you can obviously still send them in for a counterattack. Gotta treat them like zealots. But eventually, these units are gonna lose their value. So they're kind of like swarm hosts, you know? Like, the units are good when the opponent's army is small, but as soon as the opponent's army grows, they lose their value. And now you've kind of got a bunch of Phoenixes sitting around here. Not really a lot of potential here for Zest to go for a timing attack either, although, while I haven't seen it, I do think it's actually possible. Here we go for a timing attack where you use the Phoenixes to lift up the Queens and then the Roaches and the Ravagers, while the rest of your ground army kills the rest. I mean, yeah, there's some potential there, but obviously that's kind of scary. Anyways, it's been a full-on Corruptor transition here. 15 Corruptors are out. More are coming up. Corruptors are fast, but if they're in the wrong location, it's not going to be easy for them to deal with the Phoenixes. Okay. So Zest is going to lose a couple of Void Rays, I think. But it doesn't mean that the Phoenixes now have free reign on the other side of the map. I think they should go, man. Really? Alright, I think they should go for the base. I think you should try and get whatever value you can. Anyways, apparently he's a little bit concerned about the shenanigans right here inside of the main base. Corruptors, okay, starting to deal damage. They were puking on the base, forcing this Protoss player to not engage in the location where they wanted to, aka on top of a bunch of shield batteries. It's gonna be Stalkers that are worked in as well, and now the Queens are all of a sudden coming in too. I think these Queens are gonna be super critical, but maybe the Phoenixes can still help out in the base defense. I think they should be able to. Corruptors in the main base dealt with for the most part. Phoenix is once again trying to back off. Archon microed right there underneath the Corruptors. Nice movement right there by Zest. Reinforcing Protoss units are slowly trickling out of those warp gates. Is there enough for Protoss to hold on though? Solar with a huge supply lead right now despite that early game. Yeah, that's the downside of Phoenixes, right? Blink is going to be done very soon here for Protoss. I wonder if Phoenix is into like Robo is better. Like Phoenix is into like Immortals or Archons or Storm or whatever. Or Disruptors. I don't know if I like the idea of going Phoenixes into Void Rays all too much. It's like you're forcing out Corruptors, right? So, anyways. Then maybe paying for those double Stargates is a little bit too expensive. We need to get some more value out of it. Alright, eventually it looks like Zest is stabilizing. But he is going for a ground army now, which I like a whole lot better. Gold base, by the way, acquired during all of that, because of course. Yeah, one reason I think why Solar hasn't really fallen very far behind in the supply count is because of his own gold base. That one, however, is drying up. Alright. Against ground armies, though, Zerg has a whole lot more options. One of them being a Roach Ravager. I don't think he's got enough at this point, though. No, he's going to be very careful. I think he may overestimate his advantage a little bit. Okay, good set of force fields right there. Very nicely done. Corrosive Balls, though, are popping those as well. Blink at this point is finished. Zest plays Blink all day, every day in Terran versus Protoss. So, I mean, I'm not too surprised to... Protoss versus Protoss too, I guess. I'm not surprised to see him... adding that into the mix over here. Immortals being built. Wouldn't even mind seeing a second Robo facility to make 2 of those at once. Because as you probably know, yeah, there it is. Solar is very keen on stacking up the resources. So he goes Robo Bay right now as well as a second Robo facility. In the meantime, Solar, what are we going to go for? I mean, the ultimate counter to a Protoss ground army like this is the Greater Spire. I wouldn't mind seeing that, but apparently Solar... not opting to transition out of Roach Ravagers just yet. Then we'll see if that's gonna bite him in the butt. He's got all the time in the world right now to make that transition, but he doesn't have that much eco. Reinforcing Roaches should be able to deal with these Zealots once again as well. But it is gonna pull at least part of that Zerg army back. Okay, Zerg dealing a lot of damage though. Yeah, now it's starting to hurt. Nice game to end things on. Good micro there as well by the Zerg player. Morphing in the... Ravager cocoons on the low HP units. They lose their threat, and because of that, the Zealots retarget. Okay. He's got to actually be so careful, though. That's a lot of Ravagers caught out of position. Last time I checked, Zerg does not have the recall ability. Yeah, and while he was busy microing the battle at home right there as well, Solar may accidentally end up losing a huge chunk of his force here. Yeah, that's a scary amount of units being killed. Phoenix is over here still trying to be as annoying as possible, or I guess Phoenix. Big chunk of Roaches and Ravagers right there did end up going down. And once again, Zest is smelling a sandwich. It's a Zerg sandwich. Maybe not the nicest smell, but very earthy. Probably smells like the forest or so. I don't know. The smell of decay. This is a very strange fight right here, but if anyone can micro this, I think it's Zest. Yeah, very capable of microing multiple armies at once. Colossi have been added into the mix, out of all units. I feel like Disruptors would have been so much better, but... even Immortals probably would have been better. He's actually keeping half his army on the high ground there. That's so crazy. Yeah, this gold base so far hasn't really paid off very well. Zerg in the meantime, by the way, did take the base at the, what's this, the 9 o'clock position. Maybe that's the problem with Phoenix openers. They lead to a Groundtools army most of the time. Even though it doesn't necessarily make sense. Yeah, if Zerg is going to be aggressive, you kind of have to. Alright. So Solar going Queen, Roach Ravager. Zest is starting to run out of money, though. Ooh. Force fields? Okay. Zest is starting to run out of money on his natural third and everything. Yeah, Zerglings right now streaming to the main base as well. And while I do like this army here for a Protoss player a little bit better... Oh my god, he's going in for another surround right here. This is so tricky to micro. Yeah, you can see the corrosive balls right there connecting with a ton of spellcasters. At the same time, Zerglings are dealing tons of damage inside of the natural as well as the main base of the Protoss. Solar playing a very dangerous game here. Zest, though, not much better off. Loses 30 probes here. I like the army, though, for the Protoss player. Yeah, I liked it better when he didn't lose like 4 sentries there for essentially free. Is there enough for the Protoss player to continue playing here? 31 probes have gone down. His army is huge. No observer here in the mix, though, which makes this so tricky. Oh my god, can he actually clean this up? I was doubting the idea of going into Colossi, but if you micro them well, you can deal a lot of damage. Colossi obviously continuously shooting lasers, and while the lasers don't deal that much damage to Roaches and Ravagers, they're not weak. Oh my god, I've seen so many corrosive balls connect, but it seems to me that Solar's army is slowly dwindling. My god, what a game to end on. I could have sworn Zerg was winning this like 2 seconds ago. Yeah, GG. Nicely done right there. It is gonna be Zest who obtains the victory.